9 spine-chilling house-sitting horror stories. Discover the sinister secrets waiting for you. Lily stood in the grand entryway of the Thompson mansion, her heart racing as shadows flickered about the walls like ghostly fingers. The sprawling space, adorned with luxurious decor and towering ceilings, felt both magical and suffocating. For a moment, she let herself believe she was living someone else's perfect life, away from Maplewood's predictable chaos of school runs and part-time gigs. But the night sunk in thickly, swallowing the sparkle and replacing it with dread. As dusk wrapped the neighborhood in eerie silence, Lily pulled out her phone, scrolling through images of smiling Thompsons, loading her mind with envy and unease. She's all alone, she reminded herself, and she should be focusing on Jake's school project instead. The quiet was overbearing, a solitude that pressed against her chest like a weight. Then, the phone rang, slicing through the silence. An anonymous number lit up the screen, and a chill ran down her spine. "Hello?" She answered hesitantly, her voice almost a whisper. The voice on the other end was jagged, twisted. It spoke secrets, intimate details that sent shivers crawling over her skin. "Lily, you still hum that lullaby every night, don't you? Jake loves his cereal just so." Panic seized her throat as the revelations pierced through her like needles. This wasn't a prank. It was a threat. Staring out the window, her eyes caught Mark, her next-door neighbor, lurking at her porch. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, and the facade of friendliness crumbled under her scrutiny. "Just checking in," he called, that fake cheer sending unease knotting tighter in her gut. But in this community, everyone is supposed to be safe, right? Wasn't that what Mark always said? Just a little shaken, she muttered to herself, convincing her jitters were the result of too much caffeine and environmental exposure. The neighborhood was perfect, wasn't it? And the Thompsons were friends. A place to breathe. She wrapped her arms around herself, attempting to shake off the paranoia. Yet, deep in the night, as the mansion exhaled creaks and groans, something compelled her down into the basement. Among the dim light, her heart thudded with dread as she pushed against the door that shouldn't have been there. A foul odor hit her like a brick wall. Shrinking back, she opened it slowly, revealing a room drenched in darkness. Hidden cameras glinted ominously like eyes in the gloom, all aimed at various parts of the house including Jake's bedroom, the horrifying realization crashing over her like icy water. Feeling the world tilt beneath her, she fumbled for her phone to call the police. Her finger trembled on the buttons, and she felt cold sweat beading on her brow. "There's a problem," she whispered desperately to the dispatcher. But she was met with indifference, a voice assuring her it was only a quiet neighborhood. Dread pooled in her gut as she hung up, feeling her isolation tighten like a vice. Another knock came at the door. Mark. He stood on the porch, welcoming her to her worst nightmare, his mask of concern slipping more with each passing second. "Hey, Lily! Just checking in to see how everything's going. You seemed a bit shaken earlier." The words echoed horror into her mind. Mark's smile was nothing but a predator's snare. The safety she thought Maplewood offered unraveling at her feet, Lily faced a critical choice: confront this man or rush to protect Jake upstairs. She stepped toward the door, a rush of adrenaline shooting through her veins. Is this community safe? Or are the true horrors lurking just behind friendly smiles? The night was dark, shadows were closing in, and a heart-racing decision loomed over her, the fear of the unknown gripping her as tightly as fate itself. Lily's heart thudded as she hesitated, her hand hovering over the doorknob. Mark's smile made her stomach churn. The realization that something was terribly wrong drummed in her ears, and she felt the air in her lungs grow thick and suffocating. Was this the friendly neighbor she thought she knew, or had he been playing a part this whole time? "Lily?" His voice was smooth, almost soothing, yet the undertones sent alarms ringing in her mind. "Come on, let me in. We can talk. I just want to help." What would Jake do in this situation? She pictured his innocent smile, the way he depended on her, trusting her to keep him safe. "Just give me a minute," Lily managed to say, trying to buy time. Panic sliced through her thoughts like a jagged knife. She darted a glance upstairs, knowing Jake was tucked away, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing downstairs. She needed to protect him first. "Why don't you just let me in, huh?" Mark pressed, a slight edge creeping into his voice. "You don't want to wake up your little boy now, do you?" There it was, the threat wrapped up in a friendly facade. Her skin prickled with fear. She backed away from the door, footsteps silent on the polished wood, her mind racing. How could she keep Jake safe? She spun back toward the basement door. Those cameras, they were watching their every move. Were they also alerting whoever had set this trap? She felt the weight of a decision pressing heavily against her like floodwaters rising around a dam. "Lily! Open the door!" Mark's voice boomed now, sharp and demanding. She froze in place, heart pounding. The shift in his tone sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through her veins. "I know you're in there. Don't make this harder for yourself." If she didn't he act now? If she didn't he make a choice, was it too late? With her heart racing, she bolted toward the stairs, each step heavy in the quiet darkness. She knew the cameras were there, lurking, feasting on her fear. She reached the bottom of the staircase, breathing hard. She needed to protect Jake, but Mark was still out there, where she could hear him pacing back and forth on the porch, muttering under his breath, his intentions growing darker with every tick of the clock. "Lily, I just want to help. You're in over your head. Let me in, or I swear, I'll break this door down." The threat hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. It clung to her skin and suffocated her thoughts. With trembling hands, she fumbled for her phone, her thrusting heart echoing in her ears. But with each passing second, a sickening thought crept in: would calling for help even matter? Would they believe her in this perfectly pristine neighborhood? The basement door was still cracked, the damp air swirling with secrets unsaid. She caught another glimpse of the cameras, the unsettling eyes that felt so impossibly alive. She barely had the strength to take one more step. Then, a sickening sound rang through the night. A sharp crack, splintering wood next door. Was that? Dread pulled in her stomach. Mark surged forward, his silhouette pressing against the door, and she barely held her breath. This couldn't be happening. It wasn't he supposed to be like this? But as fear wrapped its icy fingers around her heart, she realized something far more horrifying: she was trapped. With Mark. "Lily!" His voice dropped to a murmur, chilling her to the bone. "You can't run from this." Every instinct screamed at her to turn and flee, but her feet felt like cement. Just when all seemed lost, a sound shattered the silence: Jake's small voice calling from upstairs. "Mom? What's wrong?" The air grew electric. A choice had to be made, and it was heavy with consequence. Could she confront Mark and risk it all, or rush to Jake's side, leaving everything to chance? The moment hangs thick and taut, ready to snap. Lily's breath caught in her throat, the weight of her decision pressing like a vice on her chest. In the split second between Mark's threat and Jake's innocent voice, time seemed to stretch. Fear seeped into every crevice of her thoughts. She wasn't just protecting herself, she was the bulwark against the darkness that threatened to swallow her child whole. "Mom?" Jake's voice echoed again, laced with concern. She could picture him pacing in his small room, eyes wide, the shadowy outlines of toys flickering under the faint glow from his nightlight. Mark's silhouette loomed, pressing against the door with a predatory stillness. "Get away from him, Lily. You'll regret this," he said, silky tones masking the sharp edge of his menace. The walls felt as if they were closing in, each breath turning shallow. She could hear the creaking floorboards above, the soft scratch of a chair as Jake shifted, sensing the tension. "Stay upstairs, Jake!" she yelled, forcing calm into her voice even as her insides twisted. She took a step back from the basement door, ready to go to him, and shield him from whatever horror lurked just beyond. "Perhaps it's time we talked about what really goes on in this neighborhood," Mark suggested, his words dripping with malice. "You think you know how safe it is here? You don't have a clue." She felt a cold chill wrap around her spine as images of flickering lights, whispers in the dark, and those lurking cameras flashed in her mind. Had he been watching them? The thought was suffocating. "Please, just leave us alone." Her voice shook. The door vibrated as Mark slammed his palm against it, the sound ricocheting through her chest. "You're making a huge mistake, Lily." "I have what you need, whatever it takes," he hissed. Desperation clawed at her throat. She needed to act quickly. Eyes darting toward the stairs, she remembered the emergency backpack tucked under the basement steps, a small beacon of hope among the suffocating darkness. Maybe if she could just grab it, they could sneak out the back. She might have a chance if only she could create a distraction. "Jake," she called, urgency thrumming in her voice. "You need to hide. Just listen to me." "Mom?" His voice was small, tinged with confusion. "Now." Mark paused, frustration simmering just below the surface. "You're really going to regret this," he murmured, tone like ice. The door trembled again as he forced it with renewed strength. Lily's heart raced. With each passing moment, his patience was wearing thin. She darted towards her son's room, adrenaline bubbling up as she felt the eyes of the cameras on her, their unblinking gaze breeding the kind of terror that could unravel the bravest of souls. "Mom!" Jake piped up, his little voice trembling. She dashed up the staircase, skidding to a halt just outside his door. The world around her felt as if it were caving in, darkness creeping from the corners, waiting to pull her under. "Jake!" Panic surged within her again. "You need to be quiet. Can you do that for me?" The seconds ticked away like oversized bullets. With a burst of bravery, she flung open the door, ready to grab him and run. But what she saw made her blood run cold. A figure loomed there, blocking the exit. It wasn't Mark. "Mom? Who's that?" Jake's voice trembled, uncertainty etched on his face. The stranger moved closer, casting a shadow that chilled the room. With wide eyes, Lily took a step back, realization looming over her. "Who are you?" But as she demanded an answer, icy fingers of dread entwined around her heart. The air thickened, weighing down her lungs. The choice had slipped from her grasp, and now, a third player changed everything. Moments away from the confrontation, she realized she could either fight or flee with her son. Which way would reveal the sinister truth? And just like that, the room echoed with the sound of the basement door crashing open. The door slammed open with a deafening crack, startling both Lily and the stranger. Mark stood there, wild-eyed and foaming with fury. The basement door, usually a grim passage, loomed behind him, a dark maw, hungry and alive. "Lily!" Mark's voice thundered, echoing through the hall. "You need to leave now. This is your last chance." The new figure, tall and thin, recoiled at the sudden noise, glancing from Lily to Mark, gauging the tension. Its face was obscured in the shadows, yet an unsettling familiarity tickled at the back of her mind. "Mom, what is happening?" Jake's small frame quivered, frozen between his mother and the doorway, eyes darting back and forth. "Jake, stay behind me!" Lily yelled, instinctively positioning herself like a shield. Fear pooled in her gut, urging her to move, to save her child. "Don't let her get away, Mark!" The stranger hissed, its voice a ghostly whisper that sent chills racing down Lily's spine. "You can't let her!" Mark's eyes blazed with a tumult of chaos. "Shut up! You don't know what you're talking about. I'm the only one who can help her," he spat, the words laced with venom. "Help her? Or control her?" The figure retorted, stepping forward into the sliver of light spilling from the hallway. The illumination revealed a face masked in a hood, but familiar nonetheless, a face she hoped never to see again. "Andrew?" Lily gasped, recognition flooding her as memories of friendship twisted into betrayal. "They all want you gone, Lily," Andrew said, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "You don't belong here anymore. They will take everything, you know they will." Panic welled inside her, thick and suffocating, drowning out logical thought. Uncertainty mixed with dread as she felt the walls press closer. She glanced at Mark, who was now poised like a wild animal, ready to pounce. "You're lying," she spat, trying to regain control of the spiraling situation. "Am I?" Andrew's voice was smooth, yet edged with menace. "You think you can fight this alone? Look around you. This place is suffocating you. Just like it suffocated the others. Others? She echoed, dread seeping through her resolve. She remembered the vanished neighbors, whispers about them moving in the night, never to return. Had they really left, or were they mere shadows now, consumed by whatever dwelled in her nightmares? Mark snarled, enough. We need to leave. Now. It will end badly if you stay here. Stay? Andrew laughed, a sinister sound that made the hairs on her neck stand. Just like the others, Lily. You can't run from what's coming for you. Her heart raced. Mark was right to urge her away, but Andrew's words gripped her with a fear that felt tangible. If he was telling the truth, what kind of fate awaited her? The notion that she could end up like the others was too chilling to accept. Jake, she whispered, steadying her voice. I need you to trust me. We're going to find another way out. Right now. Lily's mind raced. She couldn't trust either man. She felt the urge to bolt down the hallway, but doing so could lead to them all being trapped or worse. Before she could decide her next move, the dim light flickered off, plunging the house into darkness. Lily! Mark's voice sliced through like a dagger, but it became muffled by a sudden cacophony of shuffling and scuffling. Cold dread slid down her spine as she felt Jake grip her legs, shaking. The darkness was alive, swirling around them, hiding secrets and shadows that threatened to consume them both whole. Mom? Jake breathed, voice trembling even as fear washed over her. Lily reached for him, but she knew as the shadows thickened and the chaos erupted that whatever faced them now was far worse than anything she had encountered before. Their safety depended on a decision she had yet to make. Run! She shouted as she pushed Jake toward the stairs, knowing the darkness was no longer just a backdrop to her fears. It was the very thing hunting them. And as they scrambled toward the exit, a soft, sinister laugh echoed through the night, followed by a chilling whisper, "You'll never escape." They raced up the stairs, heartbeats thundering in their ears as the shadows clawed at their heels. Each step felt like running through molasses, the fear dragging them down, the darkness tightening its grip. Faster! Lily urged, her voice sharp, cutting through the thickening gloom. But Jake's small legs stumbled, and she felt his weight pressing down even harder. The fear clawed at her throat, making it hard to breathe. They had to reach the top, had to escape. Behind them, the sinister laughter twisted into a hiss, swirling around the house like a living thing. You can't outrun what's inside you, it taunted, a smooth voice echoing from all sides. Lily slammed into the door leading outside, her palms pressed flat against the cold wood as she turned the handle, desperation pumping through her veins. Please, please! The door remained stubbornly locked. Panic surged, sharp and biting. She could feel Jake trembling beside her, his little body shivering in fear. Mom? He whimpered, tears sparkling in his eyes. Hold on, Jake. She pressed against the door again, throwing her weight against it, but it wouldn't budge. She could hear the footsteps now, soft but relentless, echoing in the darkness behind them. Let me try, Jake said, voice trembling. He reached for the door handle, determination shining momentarily through his fear. Get back! Lily yanked him away just as a shadow surged forward behind them, a swift movement that caused her stomach to drop. Stay close. Before she could react, Mark barreled through the darkness, eyes wild and frantic. Lily! The basement! He shouted just as the light flickered back on, momentarily blinding her. She blinked against the brightness, seeing Mark just as he lunged forward, grabbing her arm with a vice-like grip. We have to go back. It's no! Lily cried, shaking off his hold. You don't understand. We need to get outside. But something in Mark's eyes shifted. You don't know what you're talking about. I know what's coming, Lily. We're safe down there. We have to go. The door behind them rattled, the dark presence pushing against it like a wave, eager to break free. Mom, I'm scared, Jake whimpered again, clinging to her leg. Lily knelt, pulling Jake close as she searched desperately for any way out. The stairs creaked ominously underfoot, and she could feel the walls pulsing, the house almost alive, hungry. Mark! She snapped, feeling the panic squeeze her. What do you know? More than you ever will, he said, a strange intensity flickering in his eyes. You don't have to fight it, Lily. Just let it happen, no! She shouted, cutting him off. The walls felt closer now, the darkness swirling around, whispering her name. Run! Mark repeated, nearly frantic now. We have to go. With a surge of adrenaline, Lily grabbed Jake's hand, her own frantic grip tightening as she scanned the hallway. The front door was a few feet away, but could they make it? Her chest tightened at the thought. With a sudden movement, she dragged Jake toward the door again, but just then, a shadow slipped from the corner of her vision. Mom! Jake shrieked, the panic in his voice freezing her in place. From the dim light, Andrew emerged, his face still hidden but that same sinister grin plastered across his lips. Wouldn't you rather know the truth? His voice oozed like molten tar, wrapping itself around her mind. Don't listen! Mark shouted, pushing against Andrew with a guttural growl. Get out while you can! But she remained rooted, the tug of familiarity pulling her closer to Andrew, to the dark knowledge he promised. The house shuddered around them, breathless and alive, as if it too wanted to know what came next. Don't you see? Andrew whispered, stepping closer, reaching out with a skeletal hand. There's no escaping who you are, it's your time, Lily. As the dark ambience sharpened, Lily's soul screamed for a choice. What was the truth, and at what cost? The silence frightened her more than anything. Each second felt like an eternity, and the dread thickened, 30 seconds stretched into a million. Mom! Jake's voice cut through like lightning, and she took a breath, one last desperate breath before she made her choice. But before she could decide, the roof above them began to creak, shifting under an unseen weight. The house groaned, a low, terrifying sound as if it were awakening to a deep-rooted malice. And then the walls began to whisper her name. Lily, come home. But where was home, really? As darkness clawed its way forward, she realized the escape they needed might not lead them away but deeper in, and whatever waited in the depths might just claim them both. Her heart raced as the decision loomed ahead, forcing her toward a final confrontation with a choice that might not lead to salvation. The darkness chuckled, and suddenly, everything became very still. What awaited them beyond that door? Could fleeing truly save them from what was already inside? Or would they discover that the real horror had only just begun? Lily's breath hitched as the oppressive silence stretched around them. The air felt heavier, thick with the suffocating weight of anticipation. She could see the darkened corners of the house pulsing, as if the very walls were alive and aware of their fear. Jake, she whispered urgently, squeezing his hand tighter. We can't stay here. Her heart thundered against her ribs, drowning out all rational thought. Mom, don't listen to him! Mark yelled, desperation lacing his voice. He was still pushing against Andrew, but the shadows surrounding them seemed to ripple, absorbing his frantic energy. We have to go. But Andrew's grin only widened, his eyes glinting with a feral satisfaction. You're already trapped, Lily. Whatever you choose, it leads to the same place, the same truth. The house groaned again, a low ominous sound, echoing the unease swelling in her chest. The whispers intensified, almost forming words of their own. Lily, come home, she shook her head, struggling to refocus. No more games. We're not going to play by your rules. She tugged Jake toward the door again. The shadows writhed, and the laughter that surrounded them morphed into sinister whispers, ugly and taunting. You can't run from who you are. You want to escape your fate. Jake squeezed her hand tighter, fear radiating from him. Mom, I don't want to know what's inside, neither do I. She insisted fiercely. But I want to let it take us. She didn't know where that steel resolve came from, but it lit a spark within her. Then you'll suffer the consequences. Andrew's voice dripped with malice as he drifted closer, shadows cascading behind him like dark water spilling from a broken dam. Mark! Lily shouted, her mind racing. What do we do? How do we get out? We go down! Mark yelled, desperation slipping into rage. Trust me. It's the only way to escape it. But the basement loomed in her mind like a gaping maw, greedily waiting to swallow them whole. Shadows danced at its entrance, alive with promises of what lay below. She distanced herself, her instincts recoiling. "It's our only chance," Mark continued, voice cracking. "Please, Mom," Jake whimpered, his little face pale. The terror in his eyes sparked a wave of fury that surged through her. This wasn't just her life at stake, but his innocence, his future. She couldn't let that be consumed by whatever this house harbored. "Get ready!" Lily shouted. It was time to act. She felt the adrenaline surging, propelling her forward. "Mark, hold him back!" With a swift movement, she gripped Jake's hand tightly, steeling herself. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. With a fierce determination, she lunged for the front door. Jake followed closely at her side. A rush of air blasted past them like a thunderclap, and the darkness roared, slamming against the door just inches from them. The door rattled violently, the grip of shadows seizing it, but she pushed harder, a fierce rage igniting in her. "We're getting out!" With a final thrust, the door buckled and swung open, sunlight flooding their senses. For a moment, it felt like salvation. But then came the sound that froze her blood, a whisper so chilling it overshadowed the sun. It curled around her, pulling at the edges of her sanity. "You can't leave, you must come home," Jake screamed, and the shadows surged, clawing at her legs as she stumbled back. Mark shouted, but the darkness enveloped him, dimming the flicker of hope in his eyes. Eyes wide with panic, Lily grasped Jake fiercely, torn between the allure of the unknown and her will to protect him. "Go!" she screamed, her voice breaking from the strain. But the house didn't relent. It howled a deafening wail as the door slammed shut, slicing off their escape. What if the home she fought to leave was the very thing they needed to confront? Trapped. The thought struck hard, and as Lily pulled Jake against her, the whispers persisted, crawling under her skin, begging her to yield. The most terrifying knowledge settled heavy in the silence. What awaited them inside could be either salvation or damnation. Which would it be? And in the depths of the house, what dark family secrets lay in wait? Lily's heart raced, a relentless drumbeat of fear. The walls closed in, the very air heavy with malevolence. She could feel the shadows pressing, their dark tendrils wrapping around her resolve, attempting to draw her into their suffocating grip. "Jake, we can't let them take us!" she shouted, the desperation spilling over into her voice. "We have to move!" The whispers grew louder, echoing in her ear with words she couldn't quite grasp. "Lily, come home," they slithered like snakes, burrowing deeper into her mind, sowing distrust and confusion. "Mom!" Jake pulled away, eyes clouded with terror. "I don't want to go anywhere but out of here." Mark's struggle with Andrew morphed into chaos as shadows erupted around them, the house responding to their fear like a predator stalking its prey. "Fight it, Lily!" Mark yelled over the noise. "Remember what we talked about. We're family. We can beat this together." Andrew's face twisted into a sickening smile. "Family? What a wonderful illusion you cling to, Mark. Each of you is just a piece on my board. A puppet on strings." His words dripped with malice, sharp enough to cut through the fear. Lily clenched her fists. This was about survival, and she had to take charge. "Mark, get ready to pull him back. Jake, stay close to me. We don't trust anyone but each other." "Down!" Mark insisted, desperate, eyes darting toward the basement door. "It's the only way out. We can face whatever horrors hide below, but we can't stay in this nightmare." Lily hesitated, the basement loomed like a gaping chasm. But the urgency in Mark's voice reverberated in her bones. "We're running out of time." With a quick glance toward Andrew, who was now slowly advancing, licking his lips like a beast ready to feast, she felt the creeping dread solidify. "On 3. She said, eyes sharp with determination. 1, 2, 3. Before she could second-guess herself, Lily plunged toward the basement door, wrenching it open. The darkness below yawned like a hungry mouth, inviting and repulsive all at once. She resisted the urge to recoil. "Down, Jake! Now!" He hesitated, fear etched in his features. "But what if it's worse down there?" There's no other choice. Her voice cracked, the weight of the moment heavy with impending danger. Time stretched, and behind them, Andrew's laughter rippled in the air, cold and mocking. They surged forward, Jake clinging to her as they stumbled into the depths below. The atmosphere shifted, the ground cold beneath their feet, an unsettling chill creeping through the air. Shadows pooled around them, curling like smoke, whispering twisted secrets. Suddenly, the door slammed shut above them with a deafening clap, trapping them in darkness. Panic surged. "Mark!" Lily shouted, but silence engulfed her. She could only see Jake's eyes, wide mirrors reflecting her own fear. "Mom, I'm scared," Jake whimpered. "I know." Each breath felt heavy, as if the dark itself bore down on her. She surveyed their surroundings. The stairs opened into a dimly lit room, filled with dust-covered remnants of another time, faded photographs lining the walls, grandfather clocks frozen in time, curtains heavy with the scent of mildew. A guttural moan echoed through the room. Shadows shifted unsettlingly, and there were shapes darting just out of sight. "What was that?" Jake breathed, clutching her tighter. "I don't know," Lily whispered, dread pooling in the pit of her stomach. Then she saw them, a series of grainy photographs, each one depicting a family eerily similar to hers but twisted in agony, their eyes wide with terror. "No. This can't be," she felt cold sweat trickle down her back. "What?" Jake asked, nervous. "Joe, Mom, Dad, what happened to them?" she murmured, horrified recognition coursing through her. The echoes of the past wrapped around her like a noose, tightening, squeezing. And then the whispers emerged again, louder, insistent. "You're just like them, Lily, come home." The walls began to pulse, shadows swirling thickly. Panic clawed at her throat. She had to confront this, but she didn't know if they would survive it. "Please, please, no!" she cried. As her heart thundered, the room began to shift. A chilling realization swept through her. Behind her, a door appeared, but it didn't lead out. It beckoned them into deeper shadows. Lily felt the pressure of fate pressing in. What if it's all connected? What if we were meant to find this? In that dark moment, she grasped Jake's hand, words dying on her lips. What lay behind that door could mean everything. Or nothing at all. Would they dare to step inside? What truths awaited them in the shadows? The air thickened again, heavy with portent. "Go through?" she whispered, trembling with uncertainty. A sinister whisper grazed her ear, and she shivered. "Yes, go home." Lily's heart raced as she stood frozen, the door behind her looming like a gaping mouth, hungry for secrets, desperate to consume. The whispered voices intensified, coiling around her thoughts, urging her deeper into the void. "Mom?" Jake's voice was barely a whisper, the tremor palpable. She could feel him trembling beside her, pressing against her leg, seeking comfort amid the unknown. "Jake, we have to be brave," she murmured, pulling him closer. The shadows twisted, a dark tapestry alive with flickering dread. "Together. We can face this." But inside, fear clawed at her resolve. The air thickened, pulling at her lungs with an icy grip. She wanted to scream, to run back to the surface, but something, an unseen force, held her steady, drawing her toward the door. "Let us just go back, please." Jake's voice quivered, but his eyes flickered with something else, something darker, as he glanced back. She felt the shift, the doubt seeping through him. What if they need us? Need us? The very idea sent a chill down her spine. "No, Jake. There's nothing good behind that door. I promise you." The whispers escalated, a cacophony of lost souls intertwining with her memory, taunting her with echoes of the past. Home, home, it was a melody steeped in pain, wrapped in sinister warmth. The images haunted her, families like hers, their joy twisted into terror. What had happened to them? She gripped Jake's hand more tightly, feeling the warmth slip slightly from his fingers. "Mom!" Jake's voice trembled as he pulled back. "You said we could do this together, but I don't want to. I don't want to be taken." Before Lily could respond, the door creaked open with a slow, agonizing slowness, revealing a darkness so deep it seemed to swallow the light. A draught, cold as death, swept through the air and snatched breath from her lungs. "Step inside, Lily," the voice hissed again, intoxicating and familiar, wrapping around her like an old friend. Each syllable felt like a hand on her shoulder, solid and reassuring. "This is where you belong, no?" she cried, shaking her head. These were the very voices that had haunted her dreams, mirrors reflecting all that was wrong within her. "We aren't yours. We have our own lives." The shadows responded, swirling violently, whispering secrets of betrayal and despair. The photos on the walls flickered like candles in the wind, each face staring back with open mouths, silent screams vaporizing into darkness, urging her to succumb. "Mom, please!" Jake tugged at her, panic clawing at his throat. "We can't stay here!" "Hold on," she said, eyes darting as she felt the pressure building around them, suffocating. "Maybe we can find a way out." Just as she thought of running, the room morphed once more. A loud clap echoed, startling both of them, as the air shifted. The old dust seemed to swirl into shapes, forming eyes, faces twisted in agony, watching, waiting. Then, from the swirling darkness, a long finger of shadow reached out, pointing. It beckoned, and Lily knew. It wasn't just a way out. It was a path to find the tapestry's frayed threads, to unravel the truth. But at what cost? "Jake, if we keep going down this path, we might discover things we wish we hadn't," she warned, knowing every word she spoke could be a lie. "Are you ready for that?" Tension hung thick as they faced the unknown, the door to the darkness inviting yet foreboding. Silence held them captive before desperation clawed back into her mind. "Together?" she asked, her voice barely more than a breath. Jake's answer was lost in the tumult of shadows. But his grip tightened, and together they stepped forward, swallowed by the darkness. A whisper broke the silence, electrifying the air, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Welcome home. What lay ahead in that void? Secrets, horrors, and the truth they had always feared. Lily could only pray they weren't too late to escape. The air closed in around them, thick with a cold that seeped into Lily's bones. It felt as if they had entered the belly of something alive, a creature that shifted and writhed, eager to consume them whole. Shadows danced against the walls, whispering their secrets in a language both familiar and terrifying. "Stay close, Jake," Lily urged, though her own confidence wavered. The darkness enveloped them, swallowing their forms, leaving only the faint outline of their fear visible. "We need to keep moving." As she stepped forward, a flash of light flickered from somewhere deeper within, illuminating the path just enough to show the worn floorboards. Each step sent tremors through the aged wood, echoing in the vastness around them. With each creak, a haunting memory accompanied it, a child's laughter twisted into a wail, a lover's promise refracted into betrayal. "Mom," Jake's voice trembled, breaking through the eerie stillness. "What if they find us? What if we can't get out?" Lily turned, her heart thudding, pushing back the rising tide of panic. "We will get out. We just have to find the way." But even as she spoke, a flicker of doubt crept into her thoughts. The whispers grew louder, coiling around her heart with chilling urgency. "Stay home, join us." The words were enticing, wrapped in a promise of safety and belonging that felt too good to be true. Glancing at Jake, she could see uncertainty woven into his young features, his courage fraying. She swallowed hard, praying they would not be drawn into the siren's song. "Remember what we talked about. We mustn't trust anything here." The darkness deepened, shadows licking closer like flickers of flame, hungry and insatiable. Jake's grip on her hand tightened painfully, a surge of fear sending adrenaline rushing through her veins. Then the darkness shifted, swirling in a way that formed a distinct shape. A figure emerged, spectral and empty-eyed, staring right at them. "Leave now, little ones," it hissed, an otherworldly echo that rattled her bones. "You aren't ready for what lies ahead." Lily felt the blood drain from her face. We need to find our way back," she stammered, uncertainty clawing at her throat. "Do you seek your past, forgotten and forlorn?" the figure taunted, retreating back into the depths of the void. "It is here, waiting just beyond your reach." the floor moaned, a deep pulse that vibrated through the wood. Lily tried to wrench herself away, but she felt roots of horror gripping her heart, pulling her into a mesmerizing spin, twisting her reality. The faint glimmers of light transformed into dark silhouettes of anguished faces, all staring at her as if waiting for her decision. "Don't listen!" she cried out, grasping Jake with both hands. "We don't need to know. We just need to leave." With every ounce of her will, Lily broke free from the emotional snare. She gritted her teeth, determination fueling her fight. "Jake, run!" she shouted, pulling him along in a desperate bid for escape. As they sprinted further into the cocoon of shadows, the whispers clawed at their backs, frantic and furious. "You cannot escape, you belong to us." Battling the despair that threatened to consume them, they stumbled onward, the void shifting and warping around them. A sudden wind blew, icy and biting, as if the room itself were exhaling, and with it, a vision unfolded, flashbacks of other families, their faces contorted in horror, trapped in a cycle just like theirs. "Mom, I see them!" Jake screamed, pointing ahead. There it was again, a glimmer of light. "What if we're trapped like them?" "Don't look, Jake!" she shouted, but it was too late. The light flickered, revealing mannequins dressed in remnants of lives long lost, mouths screaming in a silent symphony. She felt Jake's body tense beside her, absorbing the terror around them, the fear radiating off him like heat. In that moment, dread coiled around her. This wasn't just a house, it was a tomb. "Mom!" Jake tried to pull away, but she clutched him tight. "If we don't hurry, they'll take us too. Keep running, baby!" They plunged into the light, hearts racing, breathless, the echoes of anguish fading behind them. But as they reached the threshold, the ground trembled violently. "No one leaves," the voices hissed in unison, and the world around them shifted, falling apart as they screamed into the abyss. What awaited them in that blinding light? Salvation or damnation? Only the darkness could answer, but it demanded its price. Lily felt the weight of panic pressing down on her as the world twisted and turned around them. The light ahead pulsed like a dying star, flickering with an intensity that drew her in. "Jake, we have to push through!" she shouted, her voice straining against the thick air swirling with ominous whispers and cries. Hand in hand they barreled forward, hearts pounding in unison. The ground heaved beneath them, shadows vied for their feet, threatening to drag them back into the darkness. With each step, she could feel the clamoring voices pulling at her resolve. "You can't escape, home is where you belong." It was a chant laced with familiar tones that chilled her to the bone. "No!" she shouted, shaking her head as if that could erase the words from her mind. "We're leaving this place." She glanced down at Jake, whose wide eyes shimmered with tears and fear. "Mom, what if we can't?" His voice cracked, the sheer terror of the unknown reflected on his pale face. "Look at me, Jake." She felt a surge of fierce love, an urgency that pushed her forward. "We can't let them win. We're stronger than this." The light grew closer, illuminating the way like a beacon. The air started to hum, vibrating with energy. Around them, the shadows lurked, fading and flickering like dying embers. "You're just prolonging the inevitable," they chorused softly, the words wrapping around her like chains. Lily could hardly think through the maelstrom of emotions swirling within. The shadows were not just echoes. They were fragments of a painful past, of lives once lived and seasons lost. "I refuse to be a part of this," she uttered fiercely, turning her gaze back to the light. There was a flicker of hope, a warmth that seemed to pull her and Jake closer. As they finally crossed the threshold into the blinding illumination, an explosive sound erupted behind them, a deafening roar of rage and disappointment as the dark figures surged forward, reaching out with grasping fingers. The light enveloped them completely, and for a moment, everything stilled. Then, an unfamiliar warmth wrapped around them like a blanket. The oppressive coldness of the shadows faded, replaced by a comforting glow. They found themselves in a spacious clearing, bathed in golden light. There were vibrant trees and flowers blooming, a stark contrast to the darkness they had just escaped. "Mom, we made it?" Jake breathed, blinking in the brightness, disbelief mingled with hope. Maybe we did, she replied cautiously, glancing around nervously. It felt surreal, too serene, too perfect for a place that had once been their prison. Lily, a soft, familiar voice broke through the air, and she turned, her heart racing as she recognized the figure walking toward them. It was her mother, radiating warmth and love, her smile tearing through the darkness that had once clouded Lily's heart. "Mom?" she gasped, stepping forward, pulled by instinct. But there was a hesitation, a flicker of doubt nestled deep within her. "What have you done to your son?" her mother asked, the light shimmering around them as she reached out with both hands. "You must not let him succumb to their whispers. Do you see? The truth you feared is not in the shadows anymore." "Mom, we were lost." Lily fought to stay grounded, confusion wrestling with hope. "I thought I was going to lose everything." "You've already won, dear one. You faced the darkness," her mother reassured her. "But now you must let go of the fear and embrace the truth." Jake tightened his grip on Lily's hand, eyes darting between the two women. "Mom, let us go back. We don't need to face this. We can leave." But Lily stood frozen, balancing between the safe brightness and the memory of the suffocating shadows. Her heart raced not from fear, but with realization. "No, Jake. We have to confront it, finally let it go." The warmth of her mother's presence pulled at her heart. "Face your truth, my darling. Break their hold, and they will cease to exist." And right then, she thought about every fear, every dark moment that haunted her. They had tried to bind her, to wear her down. But they couldn't control her. She was stronger. "Together?" she asked Jake, determination shining through the haze. "Together," he replied, looking more resolute, stepping closer. As one, with a focus that resonated deep within, they turned to face the shadows, calling forth their deepest fears. "You don't have power over us anymore." Lily's voice rang out like a battle cry. The darkness writhed, the shadows shrank, twisting violently away from the command. "You can't escape your legacy." The voices screamed, but the seams of their influence began to fray, unraveling into nothingness. With determination they pressed through the remaining darkness, each step radiating warmth that shattered the ghostly whispers. The final echo faded into silence, replaced by the symphony of light and life. Lily and Jake emerged, hearts pounding, standing unified in the radiant glow, the darkness now nothing but a faint memory, a silent observer within the realm of their shared strength. "We did it," Jake's voice trembled, but this time with a glimmer of triumph. "Yes, my love. We did." Lily beamed, realizing they had not just escaped but had reclaimed their lives. The warmth surrounding them felt like a promise, a new beginning, devoid of shadows. "How do we go home?" Jake asked, excitement bubbling on his face, wonder replacing fear. Lily looked around, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Home is wherever we choose to be together." They turned hand in hand, ready to face a new chapter, stepping forward into the warmth of possibility. In that moment they knew, the shadows could never hold them again. You need to subscribe now to witness more thrilling tales that keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let everyone know you love these stories. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this jaw-dropping conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this fearsome story ends.